Hello and welcome to the Football for Kids podcast with me, Darren Rees. On this episode, we're going to be talking about the wonderful Lionesses. Before we get going though, I've got lots of messages from you, the brilliant listeners of Football for Kids. Firstly, a big shout out to Magnus, who's nearly 7. Thank you for getting in touch and thank you for your recommendations. I hope your mum is now a footballing expert. Also, thank you to Amelia, who's 8, and thank you for your suggestions and letting me know that the FA Cup is your favourite episode. And lastly, before we get into this week's show, hello and thank you to George, who's age 5, who said his favourite episode is Haaland the Goal Machine. And could I do an episode on the World Cup? I certainly will, as the World Cup is just around the corner. Oh, hang on a minute, there's one more here. Let me have a look. Hello, my name is Gary, and I really love the podcast. The only thing is, I'm not a kid. Oh. I'm 42. Alright, we'll let you off, Gary. If you want to get in touch, you can ask an adult to send an email to footballforkidspodcast@gmail.com. The email will be in the description of the podcast so it can be easily copied. Right then, the brilliant, the wonderful, the excellent Lionesses. Firstly, a little bit of history around women's football. Did you know that women's football has been played since football was invented? And over 100 years ago, women's football matches would attract over 50,000 people into stadiums. It was super popular. 50,000 is more than many Premier League games attract now for men's football. However, in 1921, which was 101 years ago, some grumpy people at the FA, which is the Football Association, decided that they were not going to support women's football any longer, and it was to be banned. Of course, women still played football, but they didn't have the support or the backing from the Football Association, which made it really difficult to follow and less people were able to watch it. The ban was finally lifted in 1970. Did you know that the England's women team have qualified for the World Cup 5 times? They've reached the quarter-finals of the World Cup 3 times, finished 3rd once and 4th once. They've reached the finals of the Euros 3 times, and this year, they won. The first time since 1966 that an England senior team has won a major tournament. What an amazing achievement. The Lionesses are simply amazing at scoring goals. In their last 20 matches, they have scored 88 goals and they haven't been beaten once. Did you know that in November 2021, that the Lionesses played Latvia in a World Cup qualifier? Do you know what the score was? England 20, Latvia 0. 20-0. Wow. Ellen White, who has recently retired from football, is the top goal scorer of all time for the England women's national team. Ellen scored 52 goals in her career and is the second highest goal scorer of all time, with only 1 goal short of Wayne Rooney's record of 53 goals for England. Do you know what a cap is in football? If you don't, it's a little hat which is given to footballers when they play for their team. The players with the most caps, so the most games, for the England women's national team are Farrah Williams, who has 172 caps, and Jill Scott, who has 161. Between them, they have scored 67 goals for their country. What a brilliant achievement. Serena Wigman is the manager of the Lionesses, and she's from the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, she is a footballing hero, and she has always been in love with the game of football. When she was young, there was no girls' football teams in Holland. She would have her hair cut really short, and she played in the boys' team with her twin brother. Now look, she's the manager of a national team and secured England their first major tournament win for 56 years. We'll talk about Serena properly on another episode, because her story is quite fantastic. The Lionesses are super popular and they are brilliant to watch. When the Lionesses won the Euros this year against Germany in Wembley, the national stadium, there was 87,192 fans inside to watch them do the business. Millions and millions of people around the world now have access to watch women's football, and that's exactly how it should be. The Lionesses will be competing in the World Cup next year, which is being held in Australia and New Zealand. Could the Lionesses add the World Cup trophy to their cabinet? I think they can. Do you? I hope you've enjoyed listening and learning about the Lionesses, some of their amazing players and their truly magnificent achievements. And remember, if you know someone who loves football just as much as you do, then please tell them about Football for Kids. Whether you're playing football soon, watching it on the telly, or pitch side, I hope you enjoy the game. See you next time. Oh, and Gary, when you're 45, you're probably going to need to listen to a Football for Adults podcast or something like that.